Hey guys, welcome back to the Huddle. We are back after a week off. The real question, I suppose, is did either of you guys sleep in at all? I mean, Sean's been like flying around the world. Dan's Dan, so of course he's probably up at 4:30 in the morning anyway. Did anybody sleep in at all?
It's a relative term.
I was going to say 5:45. It felt like sleeping the noon.
5:45. Wow.
Yep. It was very nice.
Highlights from the break, guys?
I was over in Rome for a little while, so that was kind of a nice little break and a nice spiritual reset.
That's good.
Just it was great to be around all of our kids, and my wife was also off, so a lot of family time, which is the best time.
That's awesome. I was in a beach house with a bunch of toddlers, three toddlers, 4 and under. So there was no sleeping in. We'll just say that. Not a lot of sleeping in general.
Yeah.
And
did you get any done? Did you rotate the kids at all? So you were like, hey, I'm going to take 2 hours. You guys take the kids?
Yeah, actually, the nice part about going on vacation with friends is you kind of do that. It's like, okay, they're going to watch the kids for a little bit, then we're going to watch the kids for a little bit. But
here's the key. Time. You don't want to be that person who's always the one like, yeah, you'll collectively watch our kids. I'm going to go take off. Because there usually is one of those people.
Yeah, I agree.
In a large beach house.
I'm not that person. Let's just
say.
All right.
Well, there's two types, Dan, right? There's the one who ends up taking the brunt. And then there's the one who shares the brunt. And it's like, oh, sure, I'll go for a run. I'll go. Yeah, I always feel like there's two types. Yep. There's the one who like will literally do all the work, and then there's the one who will take advantage of that. But if and then there's people in between.
Yeah, and then there's the one who drinks all the alcohol and
you guys just like totally
no names, anybody, no names, but
oh, good times. All right, today on the show we're going to talk about Democrats' midterm momentum accelerating. They're now reaching deep into Trump country. Let's see if Republicans can push it back. We're going to talk about U.S. economic warnings we saw last week with the bond market scare. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent obviously trying to calm nerves there. Didn't exactly work. We're going to get into that a little bit. We'll talk today about Canada. Of course, some Republicans are cringing right now at the president's slap down on Canada. One of our biggest trading partners, new tariffs for a large section of
Can I ask you guys
goods.
a quick question here? Mm-hmm. Because I went to Google this. So when you think of states that are impacted, you know, like Michigan comes to mind, right? Like, you think of New York, like border states. Do you know what the third biggest trading state by volume is with Canada? And I will tell you, it is not a border state.
I was going to say, it's probably like Florida.
Texas.
Texas. Who knew, right? I mean, we talk about that Senate map. Yeah.
Tallarico must be happy then right now. Well, we'll get into all that.
Yes, yeah.
We're also going to talk about this data center revolt that is happening.
Amazing.
Both parties actually right now. Really interesting. Republicans, typically the party of deregulation. A lot of them have embraced, the data center build out. Some of them now taking a page from Dems and trying to distance themselves a little bit from this too. We'll get into that. Also, the latest chatter on the next White House press secretary, now that Caroline Leavitt is leaving. Also, she's not going to be the last. A bunch of people announcing that they're leaving, and we're expecting more as the midterms draw closer. So we'll discuss as well.
Rachel, are we going to play the Sean Spicer game of I'm going to give you a list of names 1 to 10, Sean, or do we have like music for this? Are we going to go back to the rank, because we had the field.
I don't know. I will tell you, my rankings have changed significantly.
Oh, all right, ladies and gentlemen, tune in.
Yeah, you want to stick around. It's now there's one top tier, and then a lot of threes. Yeah.
How many people? Just a tease. How many people are in the top tier?
3.
1.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
All right, so it's a done deal.
And here's the point: there's no tier 2. Then it goes to tier 3.
All right, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
I felt the same. I can see that argument.
So we're going to get on the edge of their seat now. Should we set a time, guys? 9:07.
We will. We're going to get to it. Stick around. Let's go.
We're going to get to it. Put a pin in that. All right, let's look at the day book really quick. 11 o'clock, the president has a policy meeting. 12:30, same thing. 2 o'clock, the big thing with the administration. Treasury Secretary Bessent's going to hold an economic D-Day briefing. He's going to be explaining new U.S. sanctions on Iran. He told CNBC that the sanctions will be the, quote, toughest in history, as Iran is, of course, already dismissing them, saying they're not concerned about it. Anything you're expecting on that today, guys?
I think the big question is, what do they say? Because supposedly we're going to sanction those who do business with Iran. Obviously, the big question, China, do we touch that? They've been quiet on that front. She's coming, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? She's coming to the United States, or scheduled.
I thought he was coming.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we'll see. We'll see.
2:30, the president has an event with Education Secretary Linda McMahon. Back to school.
I didn't think we had an education secretary anymore.
Oh, give me a break. I love what Linda McMahon's doing, by the way.
Yeah.
And in fact, if she does her job as well as she has been doing it, there won't be there will be a department, but hopefully it'll be sent back to the states where it should be.
I was going to say, I remember back last year when the president came back and like there were all these reports that education department was going to be disappearing very quickly in short order. It's still around.
It's not a question of whether it's around or not. It's a question of the size and its power. And she has done a fantastic job of taking the Washington piece out, sending it back to the states, or realigning some of their missions that make more sense with like the Labor Department or the Ag, whatever. So it's not, it won't ever go away because it's institutionally in law that it has to exist. But the power, the number of employees,
before though.
That's true. That's true. When did law stop?
Yeah. Just lock the doors.
All right, 6 o'clock. The president has a tele-rally. Let's see. He's going to be supporting Mike Meze. Am I saying his name right? Meze, gubernatorial campaign in Oklahoma. 7 o'clock. Another tele-rally.
This is an interesting one. I am surprised that he's weighing into that primary, but just sort of. There's no question whoever wins is going to, but I don't know that you needed to have waited. Again, who knows? I don't know the history there. I don't know who knows whom and who's consulting because I haven't paid that much of attention, but I was surprised to see that.
Could it be, though, that he is wading into the Oklahoma gubernatorial race on the off chance that Darlene Graham loses and he needs to balance things out? But
you're risking, again, I don't know enough about that race, so maybe it is a slam dunk and you're right. You're getting a freebie on the board.
Right.
And that might be the case. But
what is the chatter out of South Carolina, Sean? People feeling, we were gone when the debate.
Look, I tell you, that flub, just for people who, I don't know who didn't see it, but she couldn't describe the threat that China poses to Taiwan and who should guard the strait. And this is not, to me, it was not a tough policy question to not know that China is our enemy and that Taiwan is our friend, both economically and militarily, the significance. We had all these chips from, to me, that wasn't a gotcha kind of issue. That was a, oh my gosh. And the way the answer is saying foreign policy is not my thing. It's one thing if it was some nuanced ASEAN trade agreement that, you were asking, but this is 101. Like every American should understand this.
This is kind of like the AOC flub in Davos.
No. I think this is way worse.
You think it's worse? Oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's a whole series of texts on the left amongst people in Washington, and including some AOC people that are on it, that this was the greatest gift ever because it's in South Carolina. She might be the next senator. So going first on the Democratic primary. What a great thing to have Darlene Graham say, it's not my thing. And I, we'll just learn about it. And it's not really that important.
We'll probably
can I just say that, look, you asked about tonight. This is what everyone has to understand. A primary on August 25th, when some people, I don't know when South Carolina schools went back. So if you're in the chat, let me know but I don't know. Are they people still on vacation? They're not focused. This is not getting people focused on a runoff primary in the last week of August is almost impossible. So Ralph Norman actually, because he's a current congressman, actually has a political operation. Now, it's only in one congressional district, but she's using her brothers. And to be honest with you, I don't know how robust Lindsey's was. He probably, went through the motions because he always had a primary. But this is going to be a test of mechanics. And
Sean, by South Carolina state law, public schools in South Carolina started last Monday.
Okay,
which
so
helps.
people are back in town then.
Which I will say actually helps. Fewer
According to
people on
Gemini.
vacation.
Yeah. People
But
are back in town.
I mean, this to me, there's high stakes here because I think there's a lot of people who don't feel like that this choice should have gotten jammed down their throats. And they're concerned about where she stands on issues. Remember, Lindsey Graham, God bless him, was not exactly like a lot of people had issues with Lindsey.
Correct.
So he got in the 50 something on his runoff. So I'm just telling you, I would be very concerned about turnout, and we'll keep an eye on this one tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll probably do a segment, I would think, tomorrow before the primary. But this is why you have President Trump saying last week to South Carolinians, like, pretend I'm on the ballot, like turn out as if I'm on the ballot. Well, I mean, we'll actually see if it works, but trying to juice that turnaround. Okay, 8:00 tonight. Ooh, this is a fun one, guys.
This is an interesting one.
Abdul El-Sayed is going to be on Jesse Waters on Fox News.
What?
Okay.
I mean, I got to be honest. This is such a stupid move. I get trying to go do this, but do you think
Wait,
that
it's stupid for who? It's stupid for who?
Oh, I think it's dumb for Al-Sayed.
Because he can't win over these voters who will be watching?
Because nobody that's watching Fox is going to vote for him. No one.
Totally
not
disagree.
A single person.
Totally disagree. Working class voters or working class voters. I totally disagree on that front.
I'm just telling you, I think that the high risk, low reward. And
if
Jesse,
I think it's the opposite.
Do you think that when you own the show, meaning that like you think Jesse is not going to come loaded for bear, and no matter what,
so
100%.
I get it, but Jesse gets the first and the last word. So no matter what gets said, he can come back on and say that guy said ridiculous. So I'm just telling you,
I know that dynamic well.
we'll recap this tomorrow. Whether it's good or bad, but I'm telling you, I think this was a dumb move.
I think it's really smart, and I think that it is so fascinating.
It's such hubris, Dan.
Smart or dumb, it is going to be lit, and we're all going to have to watch it. And both of these guys will try to use it to their advantage, right? To slap down on the other. So we'll see. Okay, before we jump in, because we got to move here, we have a new sponsor, the American Alternative Assets. Sean, tell us about it.
Well, this is fascinating, guys, because I know we're going to talk in a little bit about these economic warnings. And Scott Bessett's talking about the bond market, and he's talking about refinancing debt. We have a bunch of debt. As you know, we just hit $40 trillion, and a bunch of it has to get refinanced. And how much we own and the interest rates, like everything else, it's like I've gone down a rabbit hole on this. It's a whole fascinating thing. But then I stumbled upon this this sort of statistic that these guys gave us. Dan, do you know what gold's roughly trading at right now? About $5,000.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The U.S. government, and you remember the story you used to hear about Fort Knox, the U.S. government owns, get this right, 8,000 metric tons of gold. But the federal government right now values the gold that we just said was about $5,000 an ounce at, get this, $42 an ounce. So we own all this gold, and on our books, it's only worth $42.22 an ounce, which is way far less than its market value. In fact, in 1934, this is another fun stat, Franklin Roosevelt revalued gold, raising the price from $20 to $35. So this whole thing ties into debt and everything else. And that's why there's a free report that you can go to. All you have to do is go to the Huddle Gold Report, and you'll hear about all the stuff that I just reset. It's called the Great Gold Reset. You can get that report at that by going to the Huddle Gold Report. I'm telling you guys, it's so fascinating. And again, you want to know about like what we could be doing right now and why this all matters in terms of our debt and interest rates, go to the Huddle Gold Report and you will be astonished at some of the statistics. So I'm telling you, I learned so much by checking this thing out, and it's all free. I mean, you just go read the stuff at the Huddle Gold Report and you'll see exactly.
Sean likes a free money report.
I do. And I just, these things that you find out about what our government is doing and not, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It's $5,000 an ounce and we're valuing it at $40. Which is ridiculous because that could be leveraged to our advantage. So go to the huddlegoldreport.com and check it out. You'll be as informed and probably as outraged as I am.
And then after you're done, go to Omaha's website and order yourself some steaks. Right?
Yeah,
Dan?
Exactly. If you're thinking about money, we're going to get to tariffs. The president just, is going to allow beef imports into the country here for, I think it's 60 days. So it'll help with beef. But oh, man, did we grill a lot of beef over the break.
Yes.
One night, we did New York strip and skirt steak. It was like pick your favorite. So I had a little bit of both, Sean.
Smart move.
My wife likes the fat of the New York strip, like literally the fat part.
Beef tallow.
Yeah, and some people like New York strip, but Omaha steaks, it comes right to your door, sealed, airtight, so it remains nice and fresh. The selection is unbelievable. Again, we always say this, not just red meat. They also have chicken. They have pork chops, as Rachel
Hot dogs.
Yeah, hot dogs. They have a ton of great products. Labor Day is coming up. You may be getting ready to do a barbecue, which is what we love to do. But go to Omaha Steaks. The product is amazing. It's fresh. It's delicious. Little salt and pepper, Sean, and I put a little bit of olive oil. On the steak. Yeah, and
butter. Gotta go butter.
Yeah, the old cardiologist does not love that one. But so anyway, go to omahasteaks.com.
I'll get you a new cardiologist.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys.
Let's cardiologist. That's it.
Let's jump into the midterms. We are now 10 weeks out from Election Day, and the Senate battleground is clearly growing, reaching now deep into Trump country. Last week, Cook Political Report moved the states of Texas and Iowa from a lean Republican to toss-up. Alaska is obviously right there. And there are now, that puts us at what, 6 GOP-held seats that are now toss-up or lean Dem in a cycle where Democrats just need to flip 4. And it's not just that right now. Some Republicans are now worried about states they have never been worried about. We're talking Kansas, Mississippi, Nebraska. Sean, I know most Republicans.
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Okay.
The poll came out. I don't know if it's true, but it does show Tom Cotton losing.
That's ridiculous.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. But still, wow. Okay, so Sean, most Republicans think that these stretch states are going to be fine, right? They're going to end up keeping them. But the fact that they are now coming live on the map, it gives Democrats more opportunities to find those 4 states that they need to flip. What's the sort of level of concern?
Look, I've been
right now.
Well, I worked at all 3 party committees, the NRCC, the NRSC, and the RNC. This is when you get worried. Now, to your point, we'll win them, but it means that there's so many hours in the day and there's so many dollars in your wallet. And this is now having to say, I need to take a meeting and focus on this. I need to go into the field and do a poll to make sure that we're not going to get caught flat-footed. The key for both parties is to sneak attack in some of these places at the end. I think Texas might be one of those where you wait till the end, you jam a bunch of money on the ground and you jam a bunch of money on end and take a shot, because the other party will naturally, defend if they know it's coming. So if I were the Dems, I'd keep an eye on all those races, and meaning the R's need to keep an eye on it now too, and say, do we need to make sure that we're ready to go into Kansas? We're ready to go into Nebraska. We're ready. And that, again, is just distracting you. This is time and money. Does it mean that you're going to lose the state? No. So, but I am more and more worried. I've talked to a lot of people about Texas, and I'm getting more and more concerned. Just the bottom line is it blows my mind that Tallarico is where he is. But there's no one that I'm talking to, no one at the most senior levels that believes that we are not going to have a very tight race in Texas. Yeah, not one person. And I had a conversation with some folks about the Rio Grande area. There's a bunch of those seats that we redistricted. They're not, the Hispanic vote in particular is very transactional. We saw that. They came over to Trump, and they're now going back away from us. They are, and I think you're going to see a big problem in some of those states that we redrew not performing the way that they want, because they were set up as Trump districts, not as districts where the Republican does well, the generic, where Trump did well, and Trump is not on the ballot. But I'm telling you, Iowa and Ohio are both concerning to me as well. And then the Alaska race. And that's the problem, is that when you have to worry about this many races, it is a problem.
Dan, we've heard predictions about Texas before. We've talked about it on this show. Texas is going to go blue, and it never does. What makes this different? You obviously feel like this environment is very, very different than we've seen anything before. But how do you know?
Well, I think it's some of what, Sean just said, and candidates matter. Paxton is a very scarred candidate. There are a lot of people, you hear it anecdotally and you see it in data, Republicans. Some of them are Bush Republicans. Some of them are Trump Republicans that just say, I will not vote for Ken Paxton. I mean, we can talk all day long about all of his ethical scandals. In a ruby red state, the scandals have been prosecuted and brought forward by fellow Republicans. It's not like he's in a swing state where it's been, you could say it's all fake news and Democrats.
Right.
So I think in Texas, you have the combination of the immigration crackdown has backfired spectacularly with Latinos. It worked in 2024, and even in 2020, in Nevada and other states, Latinos were okay with sealing the border. This idea that like other people should get in line, I got in line, kind of like I'm here. All the people fleeing these countries with civil war, like I'm not okay with it. But now it's like, wait a second, you're getting rid of me or my neighbor or my kids or whatever. And so in Texas, it's that. But I think, look, Sean said this. The two big things now that are a problem for the Republicans are this is demoralizing. It's like in 2024 when Kamala Harris, you're looking at all these swing states and Trump led in every one, right? And then talked about New Jersey maybe coming on the board. And what was another? New Hampshire, maybe New Mexico, they talked about at one point. You just feel like you're on defense. Yeah. And what happens is right now, if you're a corporate donor or you're a Silicon Valley bro or a crypto bro, and you see this momentum, you have two choices. You're either going to double down with Republicans, and there's a huge risk of that, or you start to hedge, right? So now the money gap is going to start getting a little bit tighter. Same with wealthy individuals. Sean knows this well. If you're at the House committees saying, hey, we need another $1 million, but then Tim Scott calls, says the Senate really needs $1 million because we have to go defend Kansas now. You say, all right, guys, the House is gone. I'm going to go to the Senate. Right. And now in the Senate, we're going to put the money to Kansas. We're not putting the money in Ohio. So it just becomes snowballing. And then there's the real people. You read this in the news and in your social media feed. What do we talk about? Republicans have an energy problem, right? They're not enthused. When you see this, you know what you say? Forget it. I'm just not going to turn out. And this is where the snowball just builds.
One mechanical point. In every one of these states, Texas, Ohio, Iowa, Maine, Michigan. You've got a top of the ticket, which is the governor's race.
Yep.
And in every one of those, Republicans are equally having a problem. Even Greg Abbott in Texas, there's a lot of stuff. We'll get to this in a little bit. The point is that these are the guys who do your get out the vote operation. This is where the governor's operation is usually the key to getting it out. And that's the problem for a lot of these Senate candidates is that they've got a top of the ticket that is not running strong.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, we talk about the House now too.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good segue to that. Just a sign that Trump world is losing. Even in Trump world, it sounds like some are losing hope.
Can I make one last point?
Yeah,
we've talked about this before. The RNC and MAGA Inc. I didn't raise this money. It's not my money. And I hate when people tell you what to do with money that is not yours. But I mean, because when I was at the RNC, people were like, you need to do this. But the reason you raise it is to spend it, and we have been burning time. Like, this is when we could have been out there right now going after and defining these Democrats while they were dark, and we've now wasted it. The noise is going to pick up on both sides in these next 70 days where they're spending their money. You think about Ossoff's got like $70 million. We're done in Georgia. I just don't see how you can make that up.
I was going to say, Sean, on this point,
Sean,
on the point that Dan was making about cutting out the House and prioritizing things. Yeah, firewall. Like, do you see something like that happening in the community?
It's got to. I mean, you have to at some point, because to Dan's point, donors start to get busy, get queasy. The grassroots needs to know, where do I go? How do I spend my last few days? What do I? And at some point, they have to start putting the bat signal out to say, we got to focus on Iowa. We've got to focus on Ohio. But we're like, the signal's going to come up soon, because you can't. At this point, you haven't laid a glove on Ossoff. You haven't laid a glove on North Carolina, the governor. And that's a problem. That we've not defined these guys in the time that we've had when we had a free shot on goal.
So, Sean, let me ask you this then. Forget the House, and we're going to get to this in a second.
Yeah, we got to get to that quickly.
Now go to the Senate map. Are we at the point where Republicans are going to say Georgia, North Carolina, and maybe Ohio, we're cutting you loose?
No.
Not Ohio. Ohio's not going to get cut loose.
Okay, all right.
I just can't. You can't cut Ohio loose.
So now you're down to 3.
Well,
and you say to yourself, do you have a better chance of holding Maine or Ohio right now?
I don't know that you have to make a choice. You have plenty of money.
Yeah, but you also
But
had
also,
Iowa.
can I just say this? We'll talk about this on Thursday.
Alaska.
I'm growing increasingly concerned about Michigan. We'll talk about that on Thursday. But
this
is not like, remember the Jay Jones story from Virginia. These voters don't care about how bad El Said is. They don't, and something's got to change soon, because I do worry that Michigan is a lot more in play than some people. They just think because he's so tainted and horrible that we're going to win the race. And I'm just not, like, I'm becoming increasingly concerned about that.
Speaking of cutting maybe the House loose and focusing only on saving the Senate, there is something of a signal. You talked about a signal. There's this New York Times story that Jared Kushner met with Hakeem Jeffries in New York a couple of days ago to talk about how Democrats, if they flip the House, could work with the administration. They talked about housing, immigration, high costs. Apparently, Kushner suggested Jeffries should meet with Susie Wiles. This is a tell right there. Like, that is the inner circle. That is the president's own family, somebody reaching out to the person who's likely going to be the first Black speaker on the Democratic side to see if they can work together. Now, I'm very skeptical they'll be able to work together on anything. But these two guys, they do have a history. Kushner and Jeffries worked together on the, the criminal justice reform bill from Trump's first term. But at the same time, I mean, you have the president who's called Jeffries a thug, a low QI individual. We're going to see investigations. We're going to see impeachment.
He said that about a lot of Republicans.
True, fair. But it's different when somebody comes after you on investigations and impeaches you. That clearly is a sensitive subject for the president. I mean, what's your reaction to this, Sean? Like, does this tells us that they're expecting Dems to take the House?
No, this is a yawn to me.
Really?
As you said, Kushner and Hakeem have known each other for a long time. They met, and to be honest with you, here's why this is ridiculous. They're not going to. They have to go after impeachment. Hakeem won't be speaker for more than a day if he doesn't announce that he's impeaching Trump right away and starting 50,000 investigations. Yep. His caucus will walk on him. And there's no issue where Republicans want to work with these guys. So, look, again, this is a pie in the sky. It's a great cocktail conversation discussion. What issues could they work? There will be no issue.
No. I totally
Nothing will get done.
I agree with you.
I found this, like, again, it's cute. It's a nice story for the New York Times. But it's a nothing burger because nothing will get done. The Dems don't want to work with Trump, and the Republicans don't want to work with the Dem caucus. So
I agree with you in one sense, in that, yes, there's never going to be any bipartisan anything. I totally agree with you with that. Even though a lot of Democrats have argued to me, oh, we're going to have to show that we can govern. We're going to have to do something on affordability. We're going to have to work with the Trump administration. And I'm like, you guys are living like in la la land right now if you don't think the left is going to force you to do impeachment and then the president's going to react. But I do think the story is interesting because it signals to me that there is an understanding internally that they're not going to keep the House.
No, there is not. That's because Jared went off and had a meeting. Is not.
You think he's freelancing?
Oh, come on.
Is he freelancing?
All right, time to jump in here, ladies and gentlemen.
Go for it.
Does Jared Kushner go out and have meetings like this on his own? The answer for you, 100% no.
Dan, that's just not true. No.
Sean, you're telling me that he went and met with Hakeem Jeffries, brought up meeting with Susie with no approval, and the White House, which literally, if you go out and you take a piss without their approval, certain people in that place come online and smack you down in 30 seconds. The White House has been silent for 24 hours. Nobody's saying this is fake news.
Oh, it's not. Wait, hold on. I don't think anybody thinks it's fake news.
You guys, I mean, come on.
Wait, hold on.
Absolutely is starting to get ahead of this. They know, look, they want to keep the House. They may keep the House. It's possible still. But the odds today are extraordinarily high.
But you've changed the subject. Hold on. You just literally changed. Did that meeting take place? Sure, probably. Did Jared ask for permission? Absolutely not. Jared doesn't ask for permission from anybody.
All right. Well,
that's interesting.
Let's.
Okay.
I don't know why that's so hard to grab. I mean, Jared is the son-in-law who is done all that. I mean, like, the president trusts Jared, immensely. He doesn't ask for permission to do anything.
Very interesting. I mean, it's hard for me to.
He's just in Qatar. He's just talking to the Israelis. He just does meetings because.
Okay. Well, we are very behind. We got to keep going, but very quickly, a word about Cozy Earth. I was obviously traveling to the beach this week. Really missed my Cozy Earth sheets. They are the best. They're soft. They feel like butter. Just super cool. and comfortable, feel like a queen every time I go to bed. Also I did bring my jammies though. I did bring my jammies, had my Cozy Earth jammies. Everybody should go to Cozy Earth. Check out, their bedding, check out their pajamas, check out their eye masks. Maybe you want the joggers. Everything on the website is just absolutely fabulous. I've not ordered anything yet that I'm not over 100% satisfied with. So definitely go to cozyearth.com, get yourself some new jammies, get ready for the fall, maybe the flannels, something a little warmer. Also, they have a Labor Day sale coming up. I believe it starts tomorrow. Starting tomorrow through September 8th. If you go to cozyearth.com and use our code HUDDLE, you can get 30% off. 30% off. Cozyearth.com, use our code HUDDLE for 30% off. It's good stuff. So you should definitely take advantage of that because that doesn't come around too often. 30%. That's pretty good. It's really good.
Take it by double now.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's a great deal.
All right, let's talk about the U.S. economy very quickly. If we didn't need them, obviously we've been seeing the headlines now for months. But there were a couple of economic warnings last week that signaled, continued problems with the economy, which are going to continue to dog Republicans in the final days before the midterms. First, yields on 30-year U.S. Treasuries touched a nearly 2-decade high last week, and this prompted a lot of investors to freak out. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he tried to calm things down, didn't exactly work. He announced that they would do this double bond buybacks to try to stem this sell-off. But again, it didn't exactly work. Then there was this Walmart earnings report that got a lot of attention last week because it signaled this consumer concerns. A lot of people look at Walmart as the retailer that's sort of this bellwether on the economy, right? I feel like they, more than other companies, have really done a lot to keep prices down. But the report showed that, what was it? Sales growth was at 2.6% in Q2, which excludes fuel. They were supposed to be at 3.5%. So people they're not buying as much, obviously affordability.
And they said gas prices specifically is eating into consumers' purchasing power. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, why don't you just start there? Some of this stuff is in the weeds. Explain the significance of what
Well, I think, look, Sean and I have always said that Sean would always say the last 9 months, tell me where the economy is at Labor Day, and I'll tell you who's likely going to win the election. And we are 2 weeks from from Labor Day here, and while things could change, it's highly unlikely. And at this point, it is safe to say that the economy is not in great shape. And the problem is when you've leaned into the golden age for 19 months, it hasn't materialized. The bond market is freaking out. What does that impact? Interest rates. You want to go buy a home, your credit card debt, et cetera. Interest rates are going up. Walmart just mentioned it in their earnings call. Gas prices. We're always talking about it. Sean likes to go down to I think it's Cumberland Farms, right? At the end of the street there. You look at the gas price. What is it saying? Is it as high as it was in May? No. Is it as low as it was, in January? Not even close. Tariffs. One of the most devastating ads I've seen. I put this on social media. Sherrod Brown. What does it say? It's a farmer. It says two things. John Husted voted for the Iran war 14 times. It's caused my fertilizer price to go up and my diesel prices to go up. And the tariffs in Ohio are killing us, right? Just start right there. That is so hard to respond to. Then you have the fact that the deficit is going up and the war. Today we'll see what Bessent says. Sean, I said to you, I thought last week Trump would do something to turn the conversation heading into Labor Day on something that he feels like we're on offense. What is the big thing Monday here coming out of this? It's Iran again. It's like the 100th attempt to kickstart the victory in Iran. It might work, but the economy at Labor Day is not in good shape. It's a problem.
Sean,
we've got
Labor Day, big problem.
We have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the bottom line is, I think Dan's right. I mean, it's just not in a good place. No matter who you talk to, even people who are on the upper end are saying, wow, it's, I hear about it from people. And it is a problem. The bottom line is people are making up a decision right now and are making a decision about where they feel things are for themselves and their families. I don't talk to many people who are thinking, wow, things are good. And to your point, Dan, I mean, you're talking about Iran, you're talking about a lot, but we're not talking about you and your life and making it better right now, day after day after day, like a laser. And that's, again, where I think a lot of the consternation is coming from. There's all of the issues that we're talking about, and we'll get to the data centers in a minute. But think about what we're talking about: the bond market. We're talking about earnings report and gas prices. Canada now in trade. Iran, the data center stuff that we'll get to. Nothing is stuff that you want to be running on. It's all defensive.
That's actually a good segue to the tariff piece on this. So the administration, they've got this new 50% tariff on a bunch of Canadian goods. There were these last minute talks last week. They fell through. Mark Carney is now threatening to retaliate, saying what it was. The quote is like, "You're at war when you get attacked. We were attacked." And he says they're going to retaliate. The president, meanwhile, is trolling him, saying that they just want to be the 51st state without actually being one. But there are Republicans who are very concerned about this, Sean. Ashley Hinson has actually gone out and said this is a bad idea. Susan Collins up in Maine says this is going to increase costs for Maine farmers. Again, all these economic problems, like why is he doing this right now?
Well, why is because we have to renegotiate USMCA. I mean, that's why. I mean, there's only so much. I mean, that's in the middle of renegotiating the agreement. So that's part of the reason why. I mean, there's a timing piece that you can't kick the ball. We've actually had a good negotiation with Mexico, by the way, which is sort of an untold story. But the reality is, again, here we are 70 days out, 10 weeks out from the election. You think about the states that are in that Senate map. Ohio, Maine, Michigan, Alaska, all states that do a ton of trade with Canada. And so those voters are now reading this as a very personal issue. And that's, again, we're on defense on this. They're worried. How is my trade going to go? How's my business? What's this going to cost me? How's this going to impact? It's not a positive story. I mean, there are some, the point is, I think the Trump administration is fighting for U.S. workers. Don't get me wrong. But the consternation and the concern is still there. So the Trump administration is fighting for U.S. workers to get a better deal for us. That's a good thing. Don't get me. But that still, when you're seeing that happen, the consternation that comes into your thinking is what happens if this doesn't go into effect? When will it go into effect? How is this going to affect my bottom line? Not issues that you want voters to be dealing with as they wrestle with who to make their choice.
And I can't remember if it was Sean or Dan mentioned, but somebody mentioned the relief on beef imports, right? So at the time that they're like sort of cracking down on Canada, there was this announcement last week that they are going to lift the tariffs on beef imports for a while to try to lower prices. I got to tell you, when I was in North Carolina at the beach, went to the grocery store, and obviously this is on the coast, so the prices are going to be a little higher. 80-20, 1 pound of hamburger. Price was almost $10. 1 pound of hamburger, 80-20 beef, almost $10. Crazy. This is like a Publix, okay?
But here's the dynamic there. You're putting the relief on foreign beef imports, right? So who was benefiting from that? U.S. beef, U.S. cattle producers in some of these states. So if you're in Texas, the tariff was actually benefiting you because more people were buying U.S. beef products. I get it. Broadly speaking, this is supposed to bring down the price of beef. But the cattlemen, whether you're in Texas or Iowa or Montana, Wyoming,
they don't love it.
They're like, hey, this was helping us.
Right.
And now I get it. You're trying to help consumers writ large. But these are the machinations and the pretzels that are getting twisted because you're trying to figure out how to solve different issues.
Look, if you look at the history of Trump 2.0, the point at which Trump began to lose altitude was Liberation Day. And if you go back to his first term, he put all these tariffs in place. And then Gary Cohen and everyone, Sean, you know this, quietly did exemptions. Almost across the board, they were putting out exemptions to individual companies, countries, industries, everything, right? Democrats pulled their hair out because it was a joke. In 2.0, they haven't gone there.
Well, there is a bunch of exceptions.
There are some, but not nearly at the level that they did before. So to Sean's point, the beef thing is just, again, if I am at the DSCC, this is all amazing in the last week. You've angered Michigan, Maine, Texas, Iowa, and Alaska with Canada. You've now angered.
By the way, Dan, you said this. Was this on air or off air? But the third largest trading partner with Canada,
Texas.
Texas.
I mean, so at this point, I think some of this is ego. He cannot bring himself to admit that this stuff has failed, right? So you can't say tariffs don't cause pain and then turn around and do the beef exemption. Yeah, you're totally admitting it absolutely is causing pain to U.S. consumers because the prices are higher.
Right.
So I just, to me, when I think about a debate, and debates are going to start for the general election, okay? If you're Ashley Hinson or Susan Collins, they're going to ask you about tariffs. You're going to hem and haw because you know the White House is watching. You know what Democrats are going to say? Day one, we're going to overturn the tariffs. There you go. It's going to lower your costs. That's it. The Iran war, day one, we're going to wind this thing down. It's going to bring gas prices down. There you go. I've said two things that will have a massive material impact to a working class person. And Republicans are going to sit there and say, Well,
this touches on a broader point, which is the biggest thing that I look at in polls is voter enthusiasm. When you ask somebody, how likely are you to vote? And they put it on a scale. We have a voter enthusiasm problem on the Republican side. And so the question to me is always, as I've said this repeatedly, you have three places to vote: Republican, Democrat, or not at all. And we've got to get our side fired up to make sure they get out there and vote right now. And when you look at the issues, I don't think that we are doing an effective job at making the case. What have we done for you? What will we do for you? And why the other side is nuts. We get the third part of that message, but the first two, I don't think what we're selling.
Sean, based on all this sort of negative headlines on the economic side we're talking about today, what do you think the possibility is that Republicans lose both chambers?
I still feel good about the Senate because you have to. There's so much money out there, and everyone understands what's at stake. The House is on a razor's edge. I've done this over and over again, where I go through every one of the races. I feel good. I think we have good chances, but this is not. I could see the House easily not getting called for a few weeks after Election Day because some of the California races and some of the other potentially competitive races being close. I think that this could be a nail biter, but the Senate, I'm worried about, but I think that we're sending the alarm out. And for everyone in the chat who keeps saying fake polls, believe me, folks, yes, some of the public polls I think suck. I've always said that. But I talk to the folks on the ground in the campaigns that are concerned about the internal numbers that they're getting, the data points that they're getting. So it's not, I'd rather be sounding the alarm saying, hey, there's a fire coming, prepare for it, as opposed to saying, oh, whistle by the graveyard and say there's no problem.
I think it's about 65% we take the House and the Senate today.
I was just going to ask you, Dan.
The Senate.
5%. Okay.
House and the Senate today, right now. I mean, Sean, I just look across the board. We only need to win 4. We were worried about losing Michigan. I'm less. It's still a razor nail. It's super close. But Maine and Michigan have a pretty big similarity, which is it's a bad cycle to be a Republican. Just is. And we haven't even talked about this, but I do want to mention this. Mike Rogers asking AIPAC to stay out of Michigan.
Yeah.
For all those who said that the Netanyahu Israel stuff is all on the left, ladies and gentlemen, as Sean and I have been telling you, it is bipartisan. It is a huge problem for Israel. The fact that Mike Rogers, a staunch ally of Israel, is saying to AIPAC, stay out of this state and stop running ads attacking Abdul El-Sayed is unbelievable.
Yeah, just to give you guys some context that Dan's referring to, there's this story. AIPAC is an outside group. You can't control them. But the Rogers campaign, according to the story that came out, had made it very clear publicly, you are not a brand that is helpful in this race.
Right.
And I think the idea, anyway, so they can't tell them to do something or not do something, but they made it very clear that you are not doing us any favors publicly.
Yeah. And they were going to spend like
$30 million.
I think they still will, by the way. Trust me, I believe they will. It'll just be like under the name of like citizens who care about good government for good government.
If they do that, though, reporters will dig it up and it'll come out.
Of course, but I'm just saying that they're going to keep AIPAC out on the brand, but they will find a way in.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue to data centers, Republicans and Democrats, this new favorite punching bag. Oddly, it is now the same for both parties, and that is these data centers. We have previewed, and we've talked about it on this show, this looming storm brewing around these facilities that help, generate and support AI. I guess I shouldn't say looming storm anymore. It is a storm. It is happening right now. You have local communities who have stopped some of these projects just completely. You have politicians who are hearing from really concerned constituents who are worried about electricity costs, who are now taking what they're hearing from their constituents and then now leaning into this anti-data center message. Punchbowl had this data point, I believe it was last week. Candidates for House, Senate, and governor positions have aired nearly 4 dozen broadcast TV ads mentioning data centers this cycle, according to Ad Impact. The partisan split is actually even. So 22 of the 43 ads were from Republicans, while the remaining 21 were from Democrats. Sean, the interesting thing here is, the president obviously has very much embraced this. He was actually defending data centers when this started to percolate again last week, saying that if he was like a local official, he would welcome data centers coming to his area. Republicans have, like I said at the top of the show, they've been deregulatory. They have sort of embraced this and followed the president on this issue. But now you're seeing people like Greg Abbott, who in Texas, he's up for a 4th term. And now there's this tax breakdown there for data centers. And now he's sort of saying, okay, we need these guardrails. Talk about the pivot that we're seeing on the Republican side here.
Oh, I mean, it's enormous. Normally, because they bring a lot of jobs, it's important, blah, blah, blah. Right. So this is a natural fit for a Republican, just, sort of as an issue. But people in all of these places are getting spooked out because of the noise, because of the impact on their electric bills and their water bills. I will say one fascinating statistic that I heard, Cheryl Atkinson had one of these folks on her show, Full Measure, the other day, and I thought it was a fascinating stat. When you do a simple internet search, this guy basically said, and I might have this a little off, but the bottom line is when you do a search, like who is, Bob Smith on Google, it takes, he said, 2 seconds of energy that would light a light bulb. He said, when you go in and use Chat GPT or other AI, it takes 2 minutes. Meaning the impact of what of AI is having is driving the need, and we're just consumers, never mind what big companies are doing, is enormous. That's why these data centers are critical. The sell job has been we've talked about different Israel as a foreign policy issue. The Googles and the Metas of the world, I think, have gotten so far behind this issue and the curve. We're going to have a problem. As you mentioned, Greg Abbott is now pushing for a moratorium in Texas. They have, I forgot what the number is, 200 and something in the pipeline of data centers that are literally scheduled to go online. Never mind what they already do. Virginia's got a major problem, a major data center issue in Northern Virginia. This is the issue that people are getting freaked out about over and over again, and getting on the right side of this issue is the same thing as getting on the right side of protecting kids online and phones and social media. It's a hidden issue that's probably not showing up at the top of a lot of pollsters' issues, but I think it's driving a lot of concern that people have throughout the country, that candidates are saying, I got to get on the right side of that issue quick.
Dan, do you feel like for a while I was kind of wondering, I think I remember we were talking about this, there are people in both parties who both embrace and are skeptical of AI, but it does seem like Democrats increasingly have been in the skepticism camp, right? Sort of wrapping themselves with not only just the data center pushback, but AI in general. What do you see happening in your party on this?
Well, what I see, I go back to, I raised this issue first on this show in February because I went to this dinner with a bunch of people in Pennsylvania.
That's right. I remember
with political people, pollsters, Trump people, Shapiro people, etc. And I didn't know this was an issue, and I didn't know how powerful and how bipartisan it was. And I talked to you guys off air about this, holy cow. 3 things. 1, it's the first time Trump has been just so on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue, which is stunning. He usually has very good sense on this. 2, Democrats are trying to figure out how do we win back white working class people. Who are the most adamantly against this? White working class people. A lot of them are MAGA. A lot of them are Republicans, also Democrats. But a lot of these things aren't in urban areas. They're in rural areas. They're even in suburban areas in Virginia and Loudoun County and stuff. So it's an opportunity, right, to make inroads with a set of people when you have a person at the top of the ticket in Donald Trump who's constantly saying these things are amazing. The third thing that I'll just say, because I know we're out of time a little bit here, is I keep asking you guys this all year. In the last 4 or 5 years, being a Republican, it has been advantageous to get Silicon Valley money, and Elon Musk in particular. You're J.D. Vance in 2028. And Elon Musk says to you, I'm going to put $500 million along with a bunch of my tech bros into your campaign. Okay, but you're pregnant with us now, right? You're on board. There. You're on board with us for all of this stuff. You're J.D. Vance. Do you accept that?
I think
The
it's
fact
like
that you're
APAC.
hemming says it all.
No, because I think it's like APAC, which is that they're not gonna go out and try to win the issue
Doesn't
with
matter.
you. Yeah,
Doesn't
you're gonna
matter.
get. I mean, if you're JD, here's the thing: you're gonna get whacked for being a pal of Elon's anyway. So why not take the money?
So if I'm a Democrat, but I want to just make this point to the listeners out there because it's a political show. I can tell you this about a 90-10 issue in Pennsylvania. It's a 90-10 issue in Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, Florida. We didn't to mention Ron DeSantis is now starting hedging against it. If you go into these swing states and it rhymes with an itch of the tech crowd, Sean, it's just like APAC in Michigan.
I know
You are dead. You are dead politically.
Listen, I agree with you on the issue, like being associated right now. But this is the bigger problem the reason I mentioned the search and whatever is AI is growing and growing and growing. And the
100%.
need for the power to do it. And everyone is staring down this. Politicians are now, I can't be associated with it. We're going to have to reconcile this at some point soon. Companies and individuals are growing in their need and their use of AI, but at the same time, everyone's like, I'm against data centers. Well, you can't have both.
But the challenge for Republicans is Trump opened the door to this crowd to say, like, we're going to work with.
But Dan, as Rachel led this whole thing with,
it's the balance, right? So it's not Bernie Sanders shut everything down for the year. To me, the issue is politically, I am watching J.D. Vance and whoever the Republican nominee is. How do you try to thread a needle of saying here are the contours and government is going to step into this, start establishing regulations. There may even have to be a national standard for these data centers. It's not just going to be a local issue. And what is the reaction of Elon and the whole VC crowd?
Well, that's why
they want it national. A lot of these
I agree with you. I agree with you on this. But this is a problem. If you're Elon and Meta and Google, you better figure this out quick because you're losing the politicians on this issue and it's going to be hard for them to come back. I've said this before. This was the issue with trade. Everybody took it for granted in the industry that cared about this until it was too late and you are on the wrong side of the curve. The other point that you brought up, which is really important, is remember, Greg Abbott talked about this yesterday, which is there's only so much I can do currently because a lot of this is local issues. Loudoun County can green light. Now, again, there's tax breaks, which is a separate issue. But in terms of like the data centers coming in, that's a local issue right now, which is I want to build in Loudoun County, Virginia. The governor doesn't have much to say about that. They do in terms of maybe energy and utilities and tax breaks. But there's only so much right now. And this is, to me, the other fight. How do you start to go in and go, God, should I propose a ban? But again, remember, they bring a ton of jobs. And number two is your state uses how do you find that balance? Because at some point you're going to go, crap, we just tied ourselves in a knot.
Well, and China's not
the future
stopping.
of the country too.
And China's not stopping. That's the other thing.
Exactly. China. Like literally, that's all you have to say. China. Like, do you really want like the Chinese to like be dominating us on AI?
All these guys that talk about a pause at some. Oh, by the way, when China controls it, that's when they control the world. That's not an exaggeration. And this is the fight that we're in right now. And frankly, go look at who's behind a lot of this push to demonize data centers. You're going to find a lot of foreign interference in trying to make sure
but that is true. That is true, Dan. What's
his face? There's no question about it.
Talking about it. God, why can't I think of his name?
I get it, but people's. I have seen one focus group. That stuff is not foreign. It is my community, and here is my history with this stuff. No, I hear you, but yes, there's foreign interference. But that is not driving the opposition.
It's not helping.
It's
not hurting.
Not helping. It's making people more scared, and I think it's natural. A lot of people are scared. Like this is like it's a huge change that's coming to the world. But anyway. Okay, let's move on. We've only got a few more minutes. And we got to talk about the next press secretary. Okay.
All right, drum roll.
So all the buzz last week seemed to center on one person, and that is CNN's Scott Jennings. A lot of DC reporters, like myself, we've known Scott for a long time. He was a long time sort of member of McConnell World, made a big name for himself defending President Trump when he was running in 2024 and basically since he came back to office. It sounds like he reached out to Susie Wiles. They had dinner together. The president was asked about him recently and said something along the lines of him being a smart and good, somebody who could do a good job. I'm very curious. Sean, you said at the top there is basically one candidate and everybody else is tier 3 or 4. Is it Scott?
Wait, hold on before you answer it. Is it a man or a woman, Sean, that the tier 1?
It's a man.
So he's going to get the job.
From what I can tell, the president's in no rush. This is where, sometimes we talk about the clock. You mentioned the McConnell world stuff.
Yeah.
I think people have been enamored with Scott because he's been on CNN the last couple of years defending President Trump. But Scott was with McConnell world for a long, long time. And the question is, in the time that's out there right now, do any of these people who don't want Scott to get the job start unearthing comments? I mean, without getting into it, I will say Scott was considered for positions in the first term. And part of the problem that internally existed was his close association with McConnell. And the question that I think still stands out there is we sit there with time. Do people who don't want him, and maybe he doesn't have many enemies, but generally in DC, you've made some. Do people start pushing out quotes and things that he said about McConnell and saying, oh, you weren't always with Trump? Yes, he's done an effective job the last few years. But, there's going to be a lot of stuff that may or may not come out. I think right now it's his to lose. The question is, look, Scott makes a good living as a CNN contributor. He's got a radio show with Salem. He's got some clients. I think the question is, are you willing to give that all up on his end? And then on the flip side, is there anything that comes out between now and then that makes the president think twice?
Yeah, it's but doesn't the president he loves nothing more than a convert too, right? Couldn't he you could turn that.
Sure, and you think about the people, again, you don't have to go far in the current cabinet to find people who've said things. So it's, I just think, and the other reality is, and I've told this to people who join at the highest levels of Trump world, it's one thing to say you get it. Once you get these jobs and punches start coming at you and you get yelled at and something happens, it's like the old Mike Tyson thing. Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And I just wonder, it's not easy, but when you go on CNN and you get to be the lone person who goes out there and defends the president, you get a lot of attention, you get a lot of accolades. It's another thing when you're now standing in front of a briefing room with people throwing 10 things at your head at once.
So that was my question to you, Sean, which is, so Jennings, I imagine, would be great before the camera in the sport of the back and forth. But he's also a little bit of like his own personality, his own star. He is on CNN. He has gotten all this attention, on Abby Phillips defending Trump and whatever. In the building, right? Caroline was young, had been around. She worked in the first term as an assistant. She worked on the campaign, like everything. She was a team player, right? Really good at what she did, but she was a team player who was great in the building, great with reporters on background, all the little things you have to do to be successful to keep the place running. Scott Jennings a workhorse on that side?
He's a team player. I mean, I feel like he would put a mental, this is the team now. I mean, I don't know. he's just having known him for a long time.
Okay.
He seems like someone who works well with others. And that includes reporters.
Cabinet secretaries. It's Stephen Miller. It's everybody.
That's why I'm telling you, it's one thing to he has a lot of experience in this world, which is a lot more than other people who've been suggested for this. Because, as I like to remind people, 15% of the job is the briefing, and then there's 85% of the rest, behind the scenes stuff. So he's got the management experience that I think some people lacked, putting a team together and running a media operation. So that works in his favor. But Dan, to your point, this is why I was saying the Mike Tyson thing. Once you get inside, you've got competing interests. You're trying to figure out who's your friend, who's not, who's throwing the stuff at your head, and managing the cabinet and the senior staff in terms of their desires, their issues, their personalities. It's a completely, you can say you know what it's like. Trust me, you don't.
And when all these senior people leave and new ambitious people come in chomping to make their mark, that's going to make this even harder.
What's happening? That's a perfect segue to our last 2 minutes here. Another sign that a lot of people in Trump world know they're probably going to lose the House. It's more than just Caroline Leavitt. James Braid, who heads Ledge Affairs, is out. The pardon attorney, Ed Martin, is leaving White House counsel. We've talked about him being out. Dave Warrington. Dan, staff are not stupid. They know that if Democrats flip the House, subpoenas are going to be flying down Pennsylvania Avenue very quickly. There's really not a lot of other explanation for this, but there's a lot of
it's also
coming out.
There's also, I know people are going to probably throw up their breakfast. There is the monetization side of
Yes.
how can I go get a job and monetize the next 2.5 years and make my little piece of, get my piece of the pie. And so I have no doubt at lobbying firms all over town and public affair firms and corporations, we just talked about AI data centers.
Yep.
Can you imagine if some people we just mentioned called and said, let me help you put a plan together. Let me help you try to, influence Republicans. Of course, you're going to take that call and you're going to want to hear what they have to say. And you may even put them on retainer or hire them in-house. So the financial aspect of this, the revolving door, is real. And so I think it is both. I don't want to have to hire lawyers and deal with all these subpoenas and just the constant, people coming after us. And B, I'm going to go take care of my family.
All right, we're at time now.
Can I just real quick? I want to just I think that what Dan said, the monetization aspect is totally real. You can sign more people before anyone knows. They'll say, okay, I'd rather hedge and get you on board. But once the midterms happen, if we lost the House, then your value goes down. And I will say, Caroline is an exception to all of this talk. Having a second kid and recognizing during that time where your priorities are, she's earned, the ability to say, I've paid my dues, and she's still going to be on the outside helping with MAGA Inc. So I look at her as the exception. The other ones I do put in this category of I'm getting out because I'd rather get ahead of the curve. Potentially, I can sign more people. My value's higher. That is a different situation. And by the way, happy birthday, Caroline. It is her birthday today. So I think there's a different, and I have heard at least some other people mentioned who may be leaving. Now the question is, are they before or after the midterms? I don't know. But I think that there may be some more folks headed towards the exit.
Macro question. Susie, the chief of staff, January 1st?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. Although I'm sure she's not happy that all these people she's worked with closely are leaving.
That's
tough. Okay, let's take one question.
Okay.
Before we head out. Okay, Super Chat. If AI is a national security risk, nationalize it.
I got to tell you, I just spent a few days with a lot of folks from around the world discussing this. Just AI and heard some very fast. I don't know what the problem is that you regulate it and China wins and you lose it. And we talked about this with data centers. Where's the balance? And I think if you can answer that question, you can win Powerball. Because I think that the balance is the key thing. It is a national security issue. There's no question about it. But how do you constrain some folks and not others?
I mean, just to be really serious about this, Sean is right. The country is not having a serious conversation about this. Neither side is. It's not take over the whole thing and nationalize it, and it is not don't touch it, let the golden goose go flourish. We as a country have got to put out a policy because it is a race with China. It is in our national security, economic security, like just across the board. This technology is only going to accelerate. So how do we put guardrails on it? And how do we, from a public policy standpoint, manage it and regulate it? But that conversation is coming.
All right, guys, we're at time. Sean, what do you have coming up on your show tonight?
Ooh. We're going to actually pick up this conversation with Mike Nellis and Julian Epstein. So it's two Democrats versus me. But we're going to go, we're talking about Texas and Ohio, the races. We're talking about the issues. We're going to break it all down. And the funny thing is, I think that we're going to have a conversation that will have probably more agreement than disagreement because we're going to focus on the races and the issues driving them. And like I said, people in the chat, I keep hearing, don't be in doomsday. I'm not doomed. I want to win. I know what's at stake. I'm sounding the alarm, folks. That's a big difference.
I have a recommendation to all my Democratic friends out there, right? This is what your Monday night, a good recommendation. You're going to warm up with the Sean Spicer show. You're going to hear Mike and Julian and Sean. They're going to go at it. Then you're going to have Omaha steaks. You're going to eat well. You're going to go to Jesse Waters and you're going to, and hear Abdul with Jesse. Democrats, this is where you got some mo. So get your protein, eat well, maybe put your cozy earth on. Spicer show, dinner, Jesse
Waters.
And we love everyone else at 8 o'clock.
Right now and tell them.
Yeah, we love all the network, but get your sport in tonight.
All right, guys, good to be back. We will be back again tomorrow at 8:30. We'll see you then.